Good morning, everybody. Happy Friday to you. Blessed Friday to you. It is the last day of the work week, or at least the normal work week. It is the last week of our 2020 school year. Our kids head off to Christmas break today. So happy Friday to you. It is a good day. It's another day of God's grace and mercy to us. Another day of His abounding and surprising goodness. Today, again, as we keep God in view and meditate on and consider how great and gracious He is, how mighty and powerful He is, I want to ask you this question: what's the value of doing Bible history? Why is it important for us? This is the question I want to ask. Why is it important for us to know the Old Testament? Why is it important for us to study the Exodus, to study creation, to study the flood? Why is it important for us to study the exile of God's people and the return from exile of God's people? Why is Bible history important? And I don't just need to talk about the Old Testament. We can certainly ask the same question about the New Testament, because for us, that too is Bible history. Why is it important for us to know and remember and recall the works of Jesus? Why is it important for us to know His story, to know what He did, when He did it, why He did it, what He taught, how He taught it? Why is it important to know His history? Why is it important for us to know the Acts of the Apostles? Why is it important to know the story of the early Christian church and how they were persecuted, and yet how, in spite of persecution, why is it important for us to know history? Yeah, and I think, Tracy, that's a big part of it, to understand the foundation set up for us now, to understand our roots. You know, there's some really important truths for Christians. We say that about our daily lives, right? We want to know where we came from. We want to know our family history. We want to know our culture's history. We want to know we want to know that story. We want to know where we came from. We want to know our foundation. When Paul writes to the Romans in chapter 15, he says, everything that was written in the past was written to teach us, so that through endurance and the encouragement that the scriptures give, we might have hope. That's from Romans 15, verse 4. And there's a reason that God wrote the stories down. There's a reason that God left a record for us of His people's story. Why do we want to know Bible history? This Psalm 107, the psalm we're going to look at today, at least in brief, is a psalm that leads us to say, here's why. Here's one of the reasons we want to know Bible history: because we want to remember and recall the great acts of salvation. We want to learn more about the character of God. Because here's the thing, when you look at an account, when you read a narrative, when you read what God did for His people, when you know Bible history, then you can see how God worked and what God did to save His people. You can see God's salvation throughout the ages, right? And then what do you learn about God? You learn from His past, past actions, that our God is faithful, that our God is rescuing, that our God is a God who brings people out of exile, who redeems people and brings them to Himself. We see that our God is a God who brings people out from the Red Sea, who brings people out of exile. We see that our God is a God who came down. We're going to talk about that on Sunday as we look at Isaiah chapter 7. We see that our God is a God who came down, who entered human history to redeem and to save and to rescue. So what's the value of knowing history, God's history, the story of the Bible? It's simply this: it's at least in part, this is part of it. There's certainly so much more we could say. That the value is this: that we would know the salvation works of our God. And what we learn about our God is that He did this in the past. He's repeatedly done it in the past. He's repeatedly saved and redeemed and rescued. And the God of the past is the God of our present. And the God of our present will be the God of our tomorrow. So what's the value of knowing history? It's knowing that the God of our past is still the God of our present and will be the God of our future too. And He hasn't changed. He's faithful. He's true to who He is. He's true to what He has promised. So let me read a couple of verses as As the psalmist really does some Bible history for us and leads us to give thanks to the Lord because he's been faithful and he will be faithful. I want to read the first 9 verses. Give thanks to the Lord, for he is good. His love endures forever. Let the redeemed of the Lord tell their story, those he redeemed from the hand of the foe, those he gathered from the lands, from east and west, from north and south. Some wandered in desert wastelands, finding no way to a city where they could settle. They were hungry and thirsty, and their lives ebbed away. Then they cried out to the Lord in their trouble, and he delivered them from their distress. He led them by a straight way to a city where they could settle. Let them give thanks to the Lord for his unfailing love and his wonderful deeds for mankind. For he satisfies the hungry and fills the hungry. He satisfies the thirsty and fills the hungry with good things. I want to encourage you to read the rest of the psalm because it repeats. There's kind of this refrain. Some sat in darkness, some became fools, some went out in ships. And what did God always do? He always rescued. Your God is a rescuer. He has been such in the past, and he will be such into the future. So the Lord be with you today, because the God of your past is the God of your present and will be the God of your tomorrow. Yes, Tracy, he is the same yesterday, today, and forever. So have a great day, everybody, because your God is with you and will be with you. Have a great day. The Lord be with you all and grant you his peace.